Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Wednesday, March 5th, 2014. The first news item this morning is Dems scramble to stop LaRouche candidate. Well, guess what? They did not stop the LaRouche candidate. From Examiner.com, shock, Kesha Rogers, Texas Democrat, ran Impeach Obama campaign and won. That is pretty remarkable. From Washington's blog, J.P. Morgan Chase engaged in mortgage fraud, the securitization scheme that collapsed the housing market, lest you were wondering. And a little more information on bankers here. From Blacklisted News, bankers tell it like it is, top 10 quotes that reveal their crimes. And I will actually go through a couple of those quotes. The bank hath benefit of interest on all monies which it creates out of nothing. That's from William Paterson, founder of the Bank of England in 1694. Another quote, let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws. From Mayor Amschel Rothschild, founder of the House of Rothschild. Another quote, if my sons did not want wars, there would be none. From Gutla Schnapper, wife of Meyer Amschel Rothschild and mother of his 5 sons. Another quote, the few who understand the system will either be so interested in its profits or be so dependent upon its favors that there will be no opposition from that class, while on the other hand the great body of people, mentally incapable of comprehending the tremendous advantage that capital derives from the system, will bear its burdens without complaint, and perhaps without even suspecting that the system is inimical to their interests. The Rothschild brothers of London, writing to associates in New York, 1863. Hey, here's the news, guys. We are not mentally incapable of comprehending the tremendous advantage that capital derives from the system. We are not going to continue to bear its burdens without complaint. In fact, we're not going to continue to bear its burdens. And we are going to withdraw our consent and look for other things to do with our money. From Wall Street Journal, Obama scales back budget goals. Well, that's the headline, but it's still a $3.9 trillion budget. And it is focused on targeted measures, many of which have been previously proposed, including tax increases on upper-income Americans and companies such as oil and gas concerns. Well, upper-income Americans, that's not really the 1%. That's the guy down the street that has a small business, that eats in the local restaurants and employs people for decent wages and supports the local economy. The companies such as oil and gas concerns that we would like to see taxed, you know, the ones that are owned by like the Rockefellers, they're not, this doesn't apply to them. They already have all of their tax shelters built and they don't pay tax. So this burden, while it sounds as if it's going to be on the rich, this burden is really not going to be on the rich. This burden is going to be, it's crafted to more intensely throttle the upper middle class and just, you know, the average people who are doing well. From the Minority Report, U.S. will not participate in G8 summit in Sochi, official tells Reuters. And that is Obama and his crew throwing a little tantrum about what's going on in Ukraine, and this is a threat that they won't go if things aren't resolved in the Ukraine, which, you know, I suppose, you know, for them to go to Russia, yeah, maybe there is some danger to them there, potential danger to them. So maybe that's why they won't go unless things are resolved. But we'll have to follow that. I don't typically quote CBN News, but this is an interesting article that was tweeted by Jerome Corsi. The new USA secession movement gains steam. There's not a lot of new information here. It's about states, parts of states seceding to create their own states. And the one thing I see here that could be really significant on a national scale. Of course, I live close enough to the state of Jefferson that I'm enthusiastic about that development. But on the national front, this could potentially have an impact because, of course, elections are accomplished by national elections and have a great weight attached to the Electoral College, and all of the votes of a state go the same way. So if there were 3 more very conservative rural states, that could have tremendous potential for impacting national elections. This is kind of the big enchilada today. From Infowars.com, Bloomberg moves to ban pro-gun speech. And some anti-gun groups have been lobbying Facebook to block pro-gun speech on Facebook. And according to this article, the talks between gun control groups and Facebook's were progressing, and they have already made agreements yet to be disclosed. So are you ready to move away from Facebook? I think that I may be headed that direction. And in case this morning you were beginning to feel secure and confident and happy, here's something to be afraid about. Like the article that I had yesterday, that, now that we're not afraid of Muslim threats anymore, the powers that be, the military-industrial complex, have to give us somebody else to be afraid of so that we will fork over our hard-earned cash to line their pockets. From Yahoo News, Russia test fires ICBM amid tension over Ukraine, for what it's worth. If it's even true, who knows? From Infowars.com, leaked phone call, Kiev snipers hired by U.S.-backed opposition. Yeah, you heard that right. From Paul Joseph Watson, details of a leaked phone call between EU Foreign Affairs Chief Catherine Ashton and Estonian Foreign Affairs Minister Urmas Paet suggest that the U.S.-backed opposition was responsible for hiring snipers who gunned down protesters in Kiev, and not the deposed government of Viktor Yanukovych, as the media widely claimed. That speaks for itself, doesn't it? From Blacklisted News, Russia threatens to abandon the U.S. dollar and start dumping U.S. debt. Could this be a cover for some kind of wholesome global economic restructuring that would be based on assets and embody a lot more justice and equity? I don't know. We'll see. We'll follow this and see what actually happens. Every time I see a significant change in how the global economy works, I wonder if there's something going on under the surface that might lead to something good. If Benjamin Fulford is to be believed, the White Dragon Society is pushing for that, and there are other influential people who happen to have some gold laying around pushing for that. So it could happen one of these days. And Zero Hedge is bringing us a warning from Bank of America. These countries are at risk if the West sanctions Russia. And the reason it has to do with Russia's oil exports. And there are some charts here that explain things quite well. Again, I'm not sure that even the energy aspect of this is the most significant, but certainly a very significant aspect. And this article sheds light on that. And for our good news of the day, from the 10th Amendment Center, Oklahoma House votes to nullify Agenda 21, 66-26. So it hasn't been signed into law yet, but this looks very promising, and that is great news if Oklahoma can be an example to us that we, as the United States of America, do not need to bend the knee to the United Nations and accept Agenda 21. So kudos to Oklahoma. Thanks for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.